your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.
Hello, everybody. This is Brian Engelman with The New American Media. I am pleased to be joined with Adam Kokesh. Adam, hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, living the dream. Welcome to the event. What brought you today?
Well, it's great to see so many people coming together, but for us, it's a great opportunity to get video and just talk to interesting people, build up our stockpile of footage for YouTube. And, you know, it's a unique kind of crowd to bring our perspective to now, because I think that this represents a first stage of awakening where people go, oh, there's a problem and we want to fix voting. And then you go, well, if voting would change anything, they'd make it illegal. And, you know, hopefully there's something, there's a deeper narrative here that we want to be able to tease out and speak to a little bit. Now,
talking about what you speak to a little bit and identifying a problem, I think you identified a bit of a problem recently. You had a bit of an experience in your life that, we were out covering the Bundy Ranch in Nevada. That rancher ran into a problem. Across the country, police brutality. Kelly Thomas was murdered by the Fullerton police. Yeah. Obviously, you're here with us, so it wasn't that severe in the Bundy Ranch. See how that plays out. But a lot of things are happening to people that are speaking truth to power. Can you kind of walk us through, is brief or whatever they will allow you to say, on what happened and how you're handling it right now?
Oh, well, you started with what I thought was going to be an impossibly broad challenge of a question there. I mean, in my case, it really was a predictable consequence. And what I was doing was, the kind of thing where people go, Adam, you can't do that, it's dangerous. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go do something dangerous to make a point. And they go, but you can't do that, it's dangerous. And I'm doing this to make a point. And, a lot of people got behind it and understood that it was a teachable moment to go out and show what gun control looks like. Although, in terms of convincing people that gun control is violence, I succeeded beyond my wildest dreams because my home was raided by a SWAT team, and I was roughed up by the cops in my house, and all my housemates were zip tied to the floor. And I'm still, coming out of that. I'm on probation here. I'm banned in D.C. But it's, I think a lot of people were reached by that, and a lot of people, had to question their concept of what gun control was as a result, and really, what is a fundamental right to defend yourself, and especially in D.C. we were able to make that point very well. And I like to refer to my time in jail as a government-induced, taxpayer-funded spiritual retreat, and I learned a lot, and I was probably the most popular inmate on the block, where I was everywhere I went, except for the one drug dealer that had a ton of money. Except for him, everybody was cool with me. And the first day I got to general population out of solitary after 2 months, I was mobbed by guys with their hands out going, hey, I want to shake your hand.
Wow.
We saw your stuff on TV. So
you said solitary for 2 months?
Yeah.
And then how long total?
4 months total. I mean, really not that bad, like in the scope of things, and
you weren't renditioned, you weren't taken away under the NDAA and disappeared.
Not exactly, but if you believe that a YouTube video and making a political point constitutes a political motivation for how I was treated, it's certainly legally questionable on a number of grounds, even procedurally. But really, in the bigger scope of things, it wasn't that significant. I mean, I tortured people when I was in Iraq, and people say, thank you for serving. And I say, you mean the bankers? You mean the politicians and the war profiteers? Because what I'm doing right now is way more of significant service. And the hardship of going to jail for 4 months, maybe you can say, I didn't anticipate it, I didn't plan for it, and I wasn't ready for it.
I mean, you obviously knew it was a possibility, but
right.
Until you go.
Yeah, no, and I didn't think it was going to play out exactly as badly as it did, but to quote one of my favorite statists, Donald Rumsfeld, you don't go to war with the army you wish you had, you go to war with the army you have. And I had an idea, and I carried it out, and I took a risk to make a point, and I knew that it was dangerous, but I don't want anybody to pity me or feel bad for me, or any of the other stuff I experienced, like, having people mess with my money while I was inside and things like that. But even that, it's like I'm here, and I'm still in the fight, and I'm working on publishing a book that's going to be out very shortly. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, in the new media, there's the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns, to quote another
Yes, another snowflake of Rumsfeld's. No, that wasn't a snowflake. That was from a press conference where he's like, yeah, just more evasion. Well, yeah, that's a great reference.
Let me ask you, if you had the time machine that we talked with Stone, Sean Stone. Who was I thinking of? Sean Stone a minute ago, talking time travel and conspiracy theory and the weird, like where he came the furthest around on a topic. If you had a time travel device, and knowing the unknown unknowns are now known unknowns, and knowing what you went through, the 2 months in solitary, your band in D.C., which sounds like a 2 Live Crew album, what would you do it again?
I don't. Oh well, I thought you were going to ask a deeper, like, historical question. Like, if you.
I like how I want to hear the questions you think I'm going to ask you, because twice now we've gone different routes.
Yeah, no. I thought, all right, if you could go back in time to any point in history and kill one person, who would it be? Or if you could do one thing, if you could be back at any point in history for one day to change the future, where would you go? And who would you talk to? And what would you do?
Can you answer that question first?
No, hell no. That's
all right. Fair enough.
Oh, I don't know, man. I'd go back to. The dawn of the species and try to teach people to get along better. You know, maybe that would avert this whole statist control, the whole paradigm of leadership. I think maybe if there would have been a point, I could have gone back to 20,000 years ago and spoken caveman and Neanderthal and just whatever it was back in the Loire River Valley in France. Okay. So would I do anything differently?
Yes. Back to knowing what you know.
Boring life. Right?
What would you have done, and specifically to tell him what it was to make your point on the Second Amendment, just for the people that aren't really.
Right. I was the guy who loaded a shotgun at Freedom Plaza on Independence Day, and it was a deliberate act of civil disobedience that resulted in my government-induced, taxpayer-funded spiritual retreat and the SWAT team raid on my home, which was the second time they sent more men after me than bin Laden. And by the way, when they went into the bin Laden compound, they had 1 helicopter. When they came to the Kokesh household in Northern Virginia, 2 helicopters and an armored vehicle. Yeah, and representatives of 5 different law enforcement agencies. It was a party. And
I was almost thrown down a flight of stairs by the LAPD for staying at my friend's house with a glass of water. They had a helicopter and about 10 cop cars for no apparent reason, and it was all about, hey, I get to fight someone and crack some skulls today. And I'm like, this is not America. This is weird.
I said I wasn't special. I know lots of people have experienced this, and that's totally what's tragic about this, and one of the things that I want to take attention to.
So loading the shotgun, civil disobedience, would you do it again?
Yeah. I think there are probably some little tactical things I might have done differently, but I don't really think about it. I know why I did it, and I saw an opportunity, and I took advantage of it, and I think. It was important, if nothing else, for my street cred.
Well, at a certain point, you got to focus on the windshield and not the rearview mirrors. At some point.
And I'm back in LA. I'm in LA now. I'm back in California. I actually was born and grew up here, and I'm glad I'm banned in DC, because now there's no reason for me to put up with the Northern Virginia weather. I mean, screw that place. So I'm way happier here, and I'm doing my podcast now 5 days a week, AdamVersusTheMan.com, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm coming to events like this and making video.
And tell me about the book. You also said you're working on a new book.
Freedom. It should be coming out. Well, we're going to be leaking the full audio version in a week or 2 here, but scheduled release date is July 4.
And let's wrap with this then. For the people out there that are they've seen the Edward Snowden revelations in The Guardian, and knowing that everything we text, type, and browse can and will be used against us at a future date, knowing that people that engage in civil disobedience, acts of this is not right, and then you see the heavy-handed arm of the law come down, to the people that are maybe a little concerned, apprehensive, they want to sit this out. Because they see what happens to the Clive and Bundys when they stand up, and of course that's way more complicated. I'm not necessarily supporting them, but when people stand up and do things, it is a really heavy-handed fist that comes down on them. What would you say to those people, having gone through what you went through?
Well, I can totally respect that rational perspective of, I'm just going to minimize the government's role in my life. I'm going to pay my taxes, and I'm going to keep my head down, and I know what's going on, and I'm paying enough attention to know that, hey, I shouldn't be drinking tap water, especially here in LA. You know, we have an RO machine in our house to get the fluoride out. You know I'm keeping up with the police state, so I know what the threats to my life are, but I don't want to have anything more to do with it than that. I can totally respect that. And if anything, I think as people that want to change the world, our mission is to make it a rational, easy decision for people like that to be engaged. And when you say, well, you have a civic duty, you have to vote, it's like, no, bullshit. I'm sorry, that's not going to do it for someone like that. And if you don't have a real option, then I understand. But I think people owe it to themselves and to their children and to the future, for anybody who wants to see the world a better place, to at least know what their values are and live by those, and modify your lifestyle to not support the state, to not support any form of institutionalized violence, which is what government is. And it's not that voting necessarily is endorsing the system, but if you think that's the answer, no. And pushing that on people is going to, drive them back to apathy, because it's not rational to say, well, if we just reform the election system, we're gonna have a revolution. No. Voting may play a part in it, but the change that's coming in society right now from the paradigm shift around the internet is happening at a way deeper, way more fundamental level. And I feel like I enjoy being a part of that and bringing that to people through the media that I produce, and I hope that people would enjoy that because I can make it fun and engaging. But if not, hey, cool, just know what your values are and live by them. But this change that is coming, the idea that we can make society a better place for everybody by threatening people with death, which is what government does. Everything it does is backed up by that threat. That idea is going away, with or without you. But those of us who are part of it, we're having a really good time.
We are having a really good time. But do you think people are really ready for regardless of putting a label on it, some form of libertarianism, of the awakening, and we don't need rulers and we don't need kings on high to tell us you shall do this and shall not do that? Are we really ready for it, as slovenly as so many people have become, with their hands out, with expectations of you have to take care of me? Do you think the countries and the world is really ready for it?
No.
Because it's hard.
No, they're not. And that's what we're doing, is getting people to demand it is all you need to do to be ready for it. It's to demand self-government, to demand that you be the alpha of your own life, that no one is going to, by violence, violate your rights. That's it. It's really nothing more than that at a fundamental level. That's all we're asking people to do. And as soon as you say you're ready, you're ready. You're right. People aren't. That's why we are where we are today.
Excellent. So you mentioned your book. You mentioned Adam versus the Man. Where else on Twitter? Where else are you prolific? Twitter, Facebook? And that's the thing.
From Facebook for like 24 hours for posting a picture of an Obama drone strike victim. So I'm trying to pivot away from Facebook, but facebook.com/Adam versus the Man.
It'll be up in about 23 hours.
And, Twitter @Adam Kokesh and AdamVersusTheMan.com. I appreciate the chance for the plugs there.
Well, hey, man, we're all here to connect. It's not about dominating the new American media, the new global landscape. It's about all of us playing on the same team, and when we win, rising tide raises all boats. So, Adam, it's nice meeting you, sir, and good luck with everything, and I wish you continued health and freedom and prosperity, sir.
Free-ishness.
Freedomness. Yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. Can't fool me again.
Hey, we'll get there, America.
We will. Adam, thank you again for your time, buddy.
Hey, do you have a card?
I do.